Spain suffered a lot during COVID. In 2020, GDP was down nearly 11%, one of the worst countries in Europe. Now, things are catching up. There is a recovery situation. Tourism was hit very hard. Tourism was away, and now that is recovering. So we actually think the outlook for Spain looks quite good. But there is excessive public debt. Public debt is very high. There is a need to have more budget control, and some reforms would need to come in place.
And that seems to be the key, right? The debt, 113% of GDP. Fiscal consolidation certainly is on its way for whoever wins this election. That will be the next big challenge.
It's a very big thing. I mean, Spain needs to cut budget deficit. Public debt is too high. The candidate of Partido Popular is saying he would have a strong focus on budget deficit, and the track record on that front is good. We do think any party would focus on budget controls. That would take a little bit of growth, but at the same time, European funds are coming in. That's a very big figure, probably underestimated by the market, and that will help the economy to grow at around 2% next 3 years. That's higher than in Europe. So.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the next gen, because of course Spain is the second largest beneficiary of that EU recovery fund after Italy. It's 140 billion euros in loans and grants for Spain. So how much of a boost and a stimulus is that for the Spanish economy?
It's massive. It's a very big number. So far, the execution of those funds have been lagging. But the good thing is now this is going to come in, and for the next 3 years would have a very relevant impact. That would offset the problem around higher rates and some issues that might take away. Global growth is slowing. That will also hit a little bit Spain, but that is going to be offset by these European funds. And there are sectors where the impact is going to be very relevant, and companies, and certainly a very positive factor that would offset some of the weakness or more budget control.
So whoever wins this election, they will very much benefit from this boost, right?
Absolutely. This is a very relevant theme. We will see the execution. Spain has to deal with controlling the deficit and a number of things which are complex. But reality is half of those funds are nearly for free. The other half just comes at a 1% cost. So it's a very favorable condition for the next few years.
So from an investor point of view, how do you play this election? If there's a Pedro Sanchez re-election, or if Mr. Feijóo becomes Prime Minister, how do you play these two scenarios?
If the polls are right and a government happens, which seem to be indicating, probably the banks, which would benefit from a stable economy, their loan-to-deposit ratio is very healthy at the moment. The loan book of Spanish banks is healthy. So a stable economic environment with higher rates could be very favorable for some banks, and we favor some of the local banks which are in very good shape, high dividend yields. Also some of the utilities, there could be a switch there. The extension of the nuclear plants could be very favorable for some. If that doesn't happen, and current policy of the current government wants to close those plants, there's a big difference there. So some utilities could be favored by the extension of nuclear plants. And finally, some of the consumer-oriented or stocks that can have a benefit from the European funds. There are a few there which can have a good impact, and that could be an interesting situation for those.